Going back to the whole topic of like the maple syrup flavor, because I'm pretty sure our fourth most common ingredient now in America is natural flavors. And that's what's interesting now too, with like the whole marketing aspect. You'll see companies now say no artificial flavors, and I always expect to see natural flavors on the back, and without fail, it is always natural flavors.
Yeah.
And then we have the maple flavor. But then it's interesting as more folks are waking up to all of that madness, waking up to the fact that sugars aren't inherently bad. Honey and maple syrup are good and delicious. And I'm hoping that that continues to build, quadruple. I hope that continues with that, because then with humans more using these, then the natural flavors and all the other BS eventually goes away, and we can finally go back to having actual food and not food-like products.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that irritates the hell out of me, is now any new product I see, I always expect it to have some natural flavors, and typically now it does.
Yeah, I laughed at when you said natural flavors, but that's how I cope with pain, because it's gross, right? And natural has almost no meaning anymore on a food label. It's been bastardized and co-opted. And that's what we run the risk of with when these large companies take these words away and put, they almost have zero meaning to them, right? And so that's the way organic was headed for a long time, and some people will argue still is, but there's at least a certification program to protect the integrity of the labels around organic. So when you see something that has been USDA certified or organic, or certified by Oregon Tilth, or certified by Vermont Organic Farmers, like there's a process and compliance around that. And we're starting to see that with regenerative too. What I worry with regenerative is that we create a word that is already starting to get co-opted by big food,
all kinds of flavors,
chemicals.
Yeah,
right. Like they want to take regenerative and turn it into this it's no-till, but we're still using tons of herbicides, right? That's not making healthy food. That's not making healthy soils.
And it's misleading whoever would be buying that.
Yeah. So with maple, right, the history behind that, which we didn't really pull apart, but people started making fake maple syrup a long time ago. And they made it because if you were in Texas, you couldn't get real maple syrup.
I guess, how long are we talking?
100-ish years ago. And the flavor that we associate with fake maple, like maple extract, there's no real maple extract out there. When you see that being sold on a baking website, or oftentimes when you buy maple ice cream, some of it might have some real maple in it, but a lot of it just has maple extract. They derive it from the fenugreek seed. Do you know that one? On the big spice rack. Next time you're on the big spice rack, go open up a bottle right in the middle of HEB and crush it in your hands. And it smells they sometimes use it in Mediterranean, Middle Eastern cooking. It smells like log cabin syrup a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's how they chemically derive that compound.
Holy crap.
And then they started putting it in corn syrup because the government pays people to grow corn in this country, basically, right? And so we've incentivized growing corn, and I love good sweet corn, don't get me wrong. And it does make sense to make sugar from corn because those little kernels are packed full of sugar, right? What the problem is that we've done that for so long, and we've prioritized efficiencies and ease of farming and chemical farming, right? That we've made food that has been devoid of nutrition, that has been stripped away from everything that held good nutritional value, right? So all the fiber and all of the nutrition with sugar has been stripped away from it when they use chemical refinement processes. But that story of fake maple is a really old story, and it's something that maple farmers or sugar makers, we call ourselves. We've been having this conversation for a very, 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 very long time, trying to then be able, you have to have that conversation first before you can even start talking about why is this good? Why is this better? Why is this healthier? Yeah.
And I would assume that I'm assuming there's some Vermont Maple Syrup Coalition type organization.
There's trade organizations, there's farmer organizations, there's a Vermont Maple Sugar Makers Association, and there's one for almost every state across the Maple Belt. But the Vermont Maple Sugar Makers Association, who I'm kind of cheerleading right now because I'm on the board, they are the oldest run agricultural organization, or basically club, in all of the United States. So they've been going on since like the 1800s. And those are the folks that, partially why you think of Vermont maple in your head is because of the work of them creating high integrity, high quality standards, promoting maple as a, as an identity of Vermont almost. Yeah.
And then when talking on just the actual health of maple syrup, because I'm curious what consumers or when customers come and visit, what they say, just thinking, do they think maple syrup is just inherently unhealthy for them because they hear the word sugar? Because I know that's where we're at now, is a lot of people associate any sugar as unhealthy because we just have so many different kinds, and just where our food system is at now, it's very hard to kind of like parse through that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to eat food from a grocery store that doesn't have gross, ultra processed, ultra refined sugars in it. And so when we talk about the negative side effects of sugar, right? Like in general, yeah, we all probably eat a little too much sugar, right? So all things in moderation. At the same time, like the sugars that are really causing inflammation in the body, right? A lot of these negative side effects, so why a lot of people are pursuing like less sugar in their diet or sugar-free diets, comes from our ideas and our feelings around consuming these processed sugars. Maple syrup, right, is an unrefined sugar. So we don't do the gross bleaching of sugars that they use to make white sugar. We're not adding phosphoric acid to sugar to take out impurities like they are. And it's a kind of a different sugar world. There are really good farmers that make things like small batch cane syrup, kind of in the same way I make small batch maple syrup. But the large scale sugaring, that's a different world.
How so?
Well, it's like a commodity farming essentially, right? And so those places, they get paid by pounds that they sell. Sugar cane is problematic for a number of reasons, because lots of times after you cut it, it's burnt. It's pretty devastating for wetlands. When we talk about maple syrup, for the most part, we're talking about keeping big trees in the ground, right? Like carbon sinks that are like, we know trees are what make us all possible to live on this world, because they take in carbon dioxide, they put out oxygen, and sugar makers kind of have a symbiotic relationship with their woods, right? We're all about having small trees get bigger, right? And making our living with those trees. Otherwise, those trees are open for development to get logged or turned into housing lots. So if you go further west in the maple belt, you see losing woodlands, right? Because people will cut down maple trees. They're a valuable tree for floors and furniture and everything else.